Hey, welcome back to another episode of Real Men Unscripted. I'm Derek.
And I'm Domingo. Welcome back.
And you can see we have a person in the middle. This is Dr. Jon Petrick. I'm going to have him introduce himself and go from there.
Well, hello. I'm Dr. Petrick. I have been in Las Vegas for 26 wonderful years. Originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but I ended up out here out west, and it's been treating me really well.
Nice.
I own a couple clinics here in town in Las Vegas. Started out in chiropractic and then ended up in working a long stint in pro sports. You name it, I've had the privilege and honor of treating them. Blue Jays, worked with some of the Giants players, Coyotes, 12 years on a reality show for Dana White called The Ultimate Fighter. Yes, I can say I played a goofy doctor on TV. So I've done, you name it, I've done it. But now we do multidisciplinary work with stem cell replacement, hormone therapy, men's health, women's health, erectile dysfunction, sleep apnea, you name it. We can now pretty much service the entire population. And we even have a personal injury practice as well that we do lots of personal injury cases too. So.
Awesome.
And yes, I did get my testosterone shots from Doc. So.
Very good.
Not from
Very
him,
good.
but his nurse.
His clinic.
Yeah, his clinic.
Very good.
So.
Very good. We do lots of pellets now, which is interesting. Make a small incision in the glute, inject 4, 5, 6 pellets under the tissue, sew it back up, and then they're good for 5 to 6 months. And it's a tiny little incision, about the size of your pinky fingernail, but that gives them the regulation for longer periods of time without the ups and downs that are associated with that. And let's face it, there's a large population of that do not like needles.
Yeah, I'm one of them.
All right, there you go.
That's too big of a cut for me.
So we have we have options for people who are seeking hormone replacement, and men and women. That could be a whole entire podcast.
Also, you deal with like menopause also, or?
Well, that's a great statement, because everybody, if I were to ask all your viewers out there, how many, raised by a show of hands, which I can't see, but how many of you have heard of menopause? I would be willing to say resoundingly, almost the bulk of them would say, I have. But
yeah.
How many of you have heard of andropause?
Never.
Never heard of the word, right?
Nope.
And believe it or not, just as many men are affected by andropause as well as menopause. So menopause is for women, andropause is for men. Same principles apply. Our hormones change. Men start to lose their testosterone 1 to 10% every year after the age of around 35. So I always look at hormone replacement as the kind of the silent marriage counselor. Because what ends up happening, and you start to see when most of the divorces occur, 40s and 50s and into the 60s, and why all of a sudden you wake up one morning and you don't like your husband, and you don't like left the seat down one too many times, or it be a possible hormonal imbalance.
Yeah.
Right. So what happens is that when you would to regulate a female hormones going through menopause, and as well as give men testosterone going through andropause, all the moods change. Personality changes, all of these things start to change and start to work. So, and another thing on that, just real quick, is why this is so important is estrogen and testosterone are the same kind of chemical or the same compound, but something comes in and cleaves off a section of testosterone and turns it into estrogen. It's like all your fighters and stuff, these sports people who get busted for steroids, they're really not getting busted for testosterone or the steroid. What they're getting busted for is the blocker, so that it doesn't convert from testosterone to estrogen.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's a little bit that people don't really understand that, and that's where somebody could have an extremely high level of testosterone, and that's legal. Maybe let's say 5 times, which is scary, but let's just say it was way higher than normal. That doesn't mean that they're cheating. That just means that they have a high level. What indicates the cheating is when they're blocking it from turning to estrogen, which you really don't want if you want to stay as masculine as possible. But those are some of the misconceptions. No, if you're those women out there, you're not going to grow a beard, and your voice is not going to change if you're on testosterone. You're not going to lose your hair. It's not going to increase your prostate cancer, right? So this is a lot of time.
I didn't even know that women were supposed to have testosterone.
Absolutely. They have it. Women have testosterone just like men. They just have it at various different levels than we do, because our biggest drive, what makes us men, is our testosterone. It's our sex drive. It is our recovery. It's our lean body mass. It's our ability to metabolize fats and carbohydrates. It's our ability to proper rest. It's our ability to stay focused and clear. And when those levels drop, all of those things I just mentioned start to dissipate and start to dwindle, and therefore your mood changes, and therefore when your wife may come home, you may not be as polite as you once were, and it may not be your fault. So I always encourage people that if you're having marital issues or you're struggling and you once were not, maybe it could be hormonal. It's worth getting checked out rather than getting rid of the old lady or the old man. It's better to get checked out and see if we can balance that out. Because again, andropause in men and menopause in women are obviously real things that need to be dealt with delicately, but justly. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Because that's what I'm dealing with right now with my wife. She's went into menopause, so it's kind of like we're trying to balance it out. But I never heard of us having it. Like when we act like that, people think we're crazy.
No.
When they act like that, it's like menopause.
Well, you're the mean old man. You stay off my lawn. You know, that's kind of, maybe it's not really him. Maybe he's low on test and he doesn't like you cutting across his grass. But that's just something to consider. If your wife is not being monitored or regulated or checked on, I would highly recommend that you do that.
Yeah, she is. She
Yeah,
just started
perfect.
now on
Yeah,
hormones.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Part of those hormones that she just started on probably will have some either progesterone, estrogen, or testosterone. Those are the three primaries, if you can think of that. And they have various different.
Now, what's the test for andropause? Is it a blood test, blood
yeah,
draw?
it's a blood test. That's the most reliable and the easiest to get. Is you go to your physician and ask or call us. We can just get you the test. And it's a blood test, and it just looks at your levels. And you have testosterone, and then you have what's known as free testosterone, and there's a few other DHEA, and there's other things that could give you. It's really important that this not be dealt with out of the trunk of a car.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, I cannot stress that enough to people that this is science, and you want to use the science. Have we heard that? Trust the science?
Yeah.
So it's really important to know
Except
that
when it comes to the vaccine.
You're right. When you go to a physician and you tell them, look, check my hormone levels. We have actually had 30-year-olds that had hormones that were in the tank, 200s, 300s, which is, that's not even a half. We want them around 700 to 900. And what we've noticed in between that range, there's a drastic increase in proper mood and muscles. They can maintain muscle and they can get that. But yeah, you definitely want to get a blood test done that measures your free and your stationary test. Testosterone, and then go from there. And then there are a lot of things, but people don't realize how this plays a huge role in our society. And not maybe just from a married couple, but how about your bus driver driving your kids? If he's a 55-year-old man and he's irritated because these damn kids won't stop yelling, I mean, whatever. But so
Or older police officers.
Older police officers. So, which leads me to say we didn't do it this year, which was I got too busy and I didn't have enough help this year. So I said, I normally every year we do something called the Thin Blue Line event, and it started actually right around 2019. 2020 when they were calling for defund the police.
Oh, yeah.
After the I almost said Pink Floyd, the George Floyd situation there. Sorry.
The Minnesota.
The Minnesota event. When that happened, my brother and I realized, like, I service hundreds of police officers as a physician. I don't recognize not one of them is to be a person out to get anybody or they're profiling or doing any of these things. And for the most part, I have the utmost respect for anybody who puts a target on their back to go out and defend me and my family. So when they were trying to defund the police, that would really upset me and upset my brother. And we thought, one of the things we should do is let's just get some of our friends together that we know that are police officers or correction officers, and let's have a dinner for them. We did it on the McKee Ranch. It was a cute little ranch over by Bass Pro Shops off of Dean Martin and Raven area. And that first time we had, a couple hundred, maybe 400 or 500 people show up.
Oh, wow.
That we cooked for.
Nice.
So on big grills outside on the ranch. And then it grew each year. To one year we had Jefferson Starship playing, and we had Stavros Anthony, our lieutenant governor of Nevada. He came, and we had almost 2,300 people. Food trucks, bounce houses, hay rides and all the works. And
I think that's the one I was at with the food truck. Yeah, that was still at McKee Park.
Yeah, they've all been there. It was one of those things where I was trying to kick it off and I was getting it going, and wasn't at a certain point we got a certain number of police officers and we just couldn't get. I wanted the reserves, I wanted the retired, I wanted it all, and then I didn't get a lot of help or participation from the union the police officers union to really, they were saying they were putting it out, they did it, but that's okay. I mean, it was not, no upset or anything like that. We wanted to do a good thing. It started out as a Thin Blue Line event, and then it went through all the lines where we started, because we had it on September 11th. It fell one year. And my brother and I discussed it. We thought, it doesn't make sense just to honor the police. Why not honor all first responders? They all deserve it. And at that point, the screams of defunding the police had died down. So it was important now we could include everybody. So it was a wonderful event. We didn't do it this year, but we plan on doing it next year again, because I was surprised. It was one of those things you thought, okay, no one's going to notice. And then I got like 25 emails and 10 text messages going, what do you mean you're not having this? And I'm like, I didn't think anybody knew. I didn't think anybody cared. So then it was something.
That's
so we
amazing.
do that. But before we came on, you had mentioned something else that I'm involved in. Which
Yeah,
is
the golf
the
tournament.
golf
Yeah.
tournament, the Kiff Smith.
There are 40 to 60 million, depending upon the various different disabilities in our country, individuals with disabilities. So if you think about that, there's 40 million with severe disabilities, and there's 20 million more of those what would be considered minor to moderate disabilities. I was very fortunate to work with some wonderful people when I first moved to Las Vegas. So poor I couldn't pay attention, but I realized that no one was going to care how much I knew until they knew how much I cared. So I had a dream, went to sleep, and woke up. And God put it on my heart to serve. So I just picked charities, you name it. I picked a charity based upon the day of the week. I know that sounds funny, but my goal was to be busy 7 days a week for 365 days. And if I still wasn't successful in my business at that time, I need to either move into a different business or a new state. But really, it only took probably a couple weeks before I started to develop people who said, hey, I'd like to see you. I'd like to do that. And at that time, I was literally working out of my parents' home, driving my dad's truck. I mean, we're talking poor here. But it led to a following, and I still have a lot of my first patients who still remember coming to my mom's living room, his dad's living room, and it was kind of odd, but it grew into an incredible career. And it goes back to show you that until you're serving, you can't be served.
Exactly.
Right. So it was a wonderful, wonderful thing. But it's called Keep It Simple, Make It Fun. It's a charity that deals with, and we help people with disabilities, various different disabilities, from Down syndrome to cerebral palsy to people that are able-bodied but just in wheelchairs. As a matter of fact, the president of our nonprofit now, I'm no longer the president. When I decided to run for office, it was time to kind of set something aside and let somebody else that would do it better than me, in all fairness. And so I turned it over to a gentleman who's in a wheelchair, and his reason for the chair is he was racing to the ground in a parachute, and he pulled and he ended up streamering, and he hit the ground and smashed his back, and he's been in a chair ever since. But he just doesn't know it. Yeah. He's a great guy. His name is Jeremy, and he just doesn't even realize he's paralyzed, because he does Ironmans, he skis, he kayaks. And so when I brought our program to him, he's like, oh, I love this. Let's get it on. So
cool.
Now he is the actual president of the company. I've stepped aside and kind of as more of an ambassador. But this Friday on the 18th at Wild Horse Golf Course in Henderson or Green Valley area, that's at Wild Horse right off of Warm Springs, we're having our 6th annual golf event, and it's a wonderful thing.
Nice.
It's a wonderful thing. I'm excited about it. I never thought that my life would lead in the various different paths that it has, but one of them is again, you got to serve. In the Bible, it talks about 77 times in the Bible it mentions the word fasting, and everybody always thinks that fasting means to abstain from food, and predominantly it does. But it also, in our day and age, it means giving something up, and to me, the most precious commodity is time. So giving your time away is very favored by God, and He wants you to give your time to the poor, to the needy, to the helpless or the hopeless, whatever that may be. As well as one of the things I always recommend is technology fasts. Take a 12-hour break from your phone, take a 24-hour break from your phone, and the TV as well. And then I even encourage people to do an entire weekend. But back to the nonprofit, it's Keep It Simple, Make It Fun. That's KISMIFLV.org. It's a wonderful organization. COVID hurt us. A lot of our drop-offs, people died, people did move, things happen. political views entered the picture, and some people said I'm not part of that or whatever it was. But now we're back. You know, it's been about a year and a half back, and we've already been in January of this year. We went to Bryan Head and had a wonderful snowmobile
nice.
trip, and we had a few people in wheelchairs that came, and some of them had, you know, they had never done that before. But this is not a nonprofit necessarily just for them. It's also for their families.
Yeah, the family.
What people don't know and understand is that when like one of the gentlemen we have is Kurt, his wife had a stroke, and now he has the burden, and it is a burden, even though his love and his affection is there, it's a burden to have to take care of her.
Sure,
Mm-hmm.
So one of the benefits of our nonprofit is that we give the family a break, and they know that they're going to a safe environment, that they're loved and cared for, and that gives the family a break. So you'd be surprised at how having, you know, a 3-day weekend and not having to take care of someone, lift them up in and out of a chair and all of those things, how much of a relief that is for them. So I'm very proud of the fact that our nonprofit only helps not only those individuals needing the help, but as well as their families. So it's wonderful. Again, it's a
And in
fantastic-
2019, I got to participate because that's when I was running that program with the human trafficking, and you let us have a certain hole, like hole number 5,
Mhm.
and people got to donate money to that So not only are you having people donate to yours, but you were letting another nonprofit come on and benefit from these folks, and so we were appreciative of that, and it looked like it was a good time, you know. Everyone
I
was having a
think
great
that
time.
when you're serving, does it really matter where it's going when it's truly going to
Yeah.
people who will use it and do right with what they're doing? So for me, it was a matter of, obviously, you and I had discussed, I had a scenario and situation in my own family that things could have gone crazy in regards to grooming and various different things. And so I was kind of brought into it unwillingly or unknowingly, maybe.
Yeah.
And, you know, we look what just happened at our borders now. 500,000 children are missing, and the services that are dispersing them, children around the country, know that they're putting them in bad homes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And they're continuing to do it some 10 and 12 times. And I think it is a terrible thing for our society. And I'm a Christian. I was baptized in December 10th, 2023. It's interesting because when you tell people that, non-believers typically think, oh, life is great. Now you've been baptized, you know, and I'm like, you have no idea. Life just got a whole hell of a lot harder
Yeah.
Yep.
now that you're a Christian, because you can't unsee what you see and you can't unknow what you know. So when you know that that is wrong, you know, there's a lot of things. I mean, this is a, you know, unrestricted podcast. So it's like, for me, I was a young man. I was, you know, in my 40s and 30s and 20s, you know, I was out, you know, let's say cutting loose, doing my thing. And I thought, well, hey, it's consenting adults. That's good. And then I realized, whoa, I'm tethered to these ladies that I, you know, had been with prior, and I have been around. And this behavior, even though I was thought that it was harmless, really was harming God. And God doesn't want you to be promiscuous. You know, if you look at what's happening in our society today, it's because
Yeah.
we've lost our moral compass. And it's sad. You know, this last weekend, I was down for a men's retreat in LA, and they do it every year, 8,000 men at the Anaheim Event Center. Great music, great speakers. Ken Graves and some of the big national speakers were there. And it's interesting because I thought that I would never be in an environment outside of medical school where I would spend 4 to 6 hours in a position where I would be just thrown so much information and be able to pick it up. And I did it. And it was awesome to get all of this information and about Christ and what he has for us and what he wants for us. So when you're looking at what's happening in our society today, I mean, you remember that old commercial with the Indian on the horse, and he sees the litter and he sees all the trash and he's crying and he's got the tears rolling down his face. It was an old Mutual of Omaha commercial. And it's like, it's this Indian, and he's kind of like a painted horse, and he rides up and he sees the trash all over the hills, and he starts to get a tear in his eye. I feel that way now. I feel that we, you know, especially as a man, needing to step up and do the right things, and it's important. And I think our society's falling, not fallen, but falling. And if we don't turn it around, I really don't see a way out of this, especially this next election. I look at it as it used to be the two different parties, and the Indians used to say that the left wing and the right wing belong to the same bird.
Yeah.
Right? And that used to be the case, but now there's an ideology out there that's just very different. And God said in the book of Revelations, I'll be back on 2 reasons, specifically 2 reasons. And I think people don't pay attention to that. And the first reason was we start killing our young in great numbers, and we're second to China in abortions. It's amazing to me that we still, and now you're hearing calls for late term abortions, 9-month, and even postpartum abortions, means after the baby was born. And then the second thing is that we start messing with God's creation. And it's not only, just for everybody out there, I'm a firm believer in Christ, and I believe that life begins at conception. When the sperm meets the egg, a spark of light is created. We actually have pictures of this happening, and you can show people, look, this is a spark of life, so there's no question when that happens. And it only proceeds to advance into one of 2 ways, either XX or XY. I've not seen any literature out there to defeat that knowledge or any of that stuff, so it's unfortunate that we have these battles about what we're having now, and I see it and I hear it, but as a scientist I don't buy into it, and I don't co-sign on any of to me I think is the sinful behavior that's out there. I don't co-sign onto it anymore, or I never really did, but that's what we're seeing in our society. And for me, I approach it very scientifically. Sperm meets egg, life. XXXY, life. That's it. There isn't anything in between.
There's nothing in between. Yeah, I agree.
So a man can't bear a baby.
Well, I would say this.
Have you seen
without
those
people
in Congress?
Naturally, no.
The
But if
answer
you
is
mess
no.
with it like he's saying,
But it's not even just that. It's our wheat. If you look at our wheat and you're looking at now all the celiac disease and irritable bowel and leaky gut and all of these conditions, and I hear this and it makes me crazy. Gluten, I am gluten intolerant, or I have these conditions, and the answer is, if you were to look at like the wheat things, right, where people can't have flour, can't have these things. Well, what people don't know, it's not necessarily wheat. We GMO it. We change it, so it's not the same DNA structure. So it's not wheat from 100 years ago. It's not the same wheat from today. And then you start looking at it as how we process our foods. Everybody's in such a big damn hurry that we used to cook bread. And if anybody's ever cooked bread, it's at least 30 minutes in the oven. You're going to have to cook it. But there's a method to that madness. When you cook gluten and wheat and you cook these nutrients, you cook them to the point that you cook off the acid. So when we process our wheat and our breads, something rises in the bread called phytic acid, PHYTIC. It is 3,000 times above the level that our body can buffer. And how does your body buffer an acid? It takes the easiest source is your long bones, and it takes minerals and starts demineralizing those long bones to buffer the acid that's 3,000 times higher than what we're even capable of doing. So after you eat it, I feel like crap. Yeah. My joints hurt. Yeah. Because you're trying to buffer this phytic acid. But what happens when they go to Europe or overseas where they don't let all the food dyes and all of these, these things that we cooked our breads longer? I had people go to Europe and go, man, I had 7 days in Europe and didn't have one issue with my gut.
And I hear that they come back, they said I ate bread nonstop and they didn't even gain a pound.
Some lose because they walk over there. Now it's like, I love this. I go to my gym and we have an escalator up to the gym, and I always see people taking the escalator and it'll be packed and the stairs are wide open and everybody's vying for those spots at the front of the gym. And I'm like, aren't we kind of defeating this purpose? But that's kind of it in regards to, what I think as far as our diet. But getting back to it is we're starting to alter God's perfect creation, whether it be wheat or the human, and now this trans stuff is absolutely sinful. And I'm not trying to tell anybody how to live their life. I have a rule, and I think you, of all people, would agree with this rule. 3 parts. No kids, no pets, and no dead people. You can, you know what you do in your own home is your business. I get it, but it's not, doesn't bother me that someone, I mean, Maxwell Klinger from MASH used to dress as a woman, but guess what? He was trying to get a Section 8 to say that he was crazy, right? I mean, look at that. So I don't have a problem with that. So I don't care if someone wants to put on a dress. I really don't care. What I care about is that you want to put on a garter belt and a lingerie and you want to dance as a man in that stuff in front of someone else's kids. That to me that's the weird part. You want to do that and parade around your home or with your friends and family, whatever you want to do it. That's why we live in this country. But when you want to start taking your fetish and your kink into the classroom with young kids and perverting them, I mean, whatever happened to the R-rated movies and the G and the PG-13 and then the PG and then the R and then now ultimately X. Now we've bypassed all of that and said, go ahead, bring in Tom dressed in the garter belt to dance in front of Timmy at 7. What? That to me is weird.
So, and then when the parents go to these board meetings to read these books and they're reading the cuss words, the people on the board are telling them, oh, you can't eat, no cussing, no this. And they're like, hello, it's in the book that I'm telling you my kids are having to read. Oh, no, can't do that, you know. But they're okay with the kids hearing it, but they can't hear it, and they're the adults hearing it from another parent. So
it sounded like you asked me to tell you the reason why people are like that, and I don't have a clue. It doesn't make any sense to me. And not only that, remember, they're domestic terrorists. These parents are going there sticking up for their kids, and let's just role play 50 years ago. I mean, things were very, very different. You know, when I was coming up, you know, my neighbor was a disciplinarian as well as my father. And if my neighbor had to discipline me, I got it worse when I got home. Yeah. And now it's like, as long as it's not in my backyard, I see something, I don't say something, I don't want to get involved, not my monkey, not my circus. Come on. That's what happened. And really, the fault of this is on men. This comes down to men being men. And I blame the churches, too. You know, I've talked to my pastor, and one time I was with a group of pastors, and I said, it's your fault. And they said, why? I said, because you bought into a false tax fraud scam and said that that you're going to lose your 501c3 if you preach from the pulpit, a political whatever. And that's wrong. It's a lie. And they let us down. And all of what we're seeing now was happened because of in 1950s they wanted to come in and destroy our country. And the best way to do that is education, the pillars.
Yeah.
There's the pillars. And so when people say, oh, things are all screwed up, and I'm like, well, it depends upon which party you're asking. If you're asking the Democratic Party, they think things are running just smooth and everything's copacetic. If you were to ask the Republicans, we're scared to death.
Yeah.
I know I am. I mean, I'm trying to raise a 19-year-old daughter in this mess, and we forgot the fundamentals, and I think that's the biggest challenge that we have. I mean, women were put on this earth for men, not to be inferior or be objectified, but they're our helper, and we need to be strong men to protect them. And I always teach the young men that I'm around that men don't protect women because they're weak. Men protect women because they're important. Mm-hmm. And we need that. Men are deficit. If we don't have a woman in our life, we're deficit from being as the maximized manhood, and that is God said, you need a helper. And I'm going to call this thing a woman, and you need to find one that you can work with, and you will protect her to the day you die, and you're going to make a covenant to me to do so, and that's just not happening. 63%. Here's an interesting fact. 67% of all first marriages end in divorce, 82% of all second marriages end in divorce, but only 2% of marriages where the couples pray together end in divorce. So that means they're putting God and they're twining that rope and making God the center of the rope, and they're twining each other in between and using God as that centerpiece. And I think that's important. And again, that's something else we're missing. So.
Yeah, but I think our churches are starting to move towards that, because we just went to our conference at our church, and it's all about men. Like, if you build strong men, strong Christian leaders, then the rest will follow, because you work at your family. Then from there, friends, and it just kind of comes out.
We had 320, but
but that's local. This was a national event, major things, and it's a free event, by the way. This was a free event.
Except we got to fly there.
We drove. So we drove down, and we carpooled, and I think that it was interesting because the men, when you're in the car, kind of talking a little bit about what you went through and what did you think of that and what about that speaker and
The
if
ride
you,
home's the best.
yeah,
Going there,
and,
you have it.
and it was.
you know.
I was actually. I kind of cheated my guys out of that deliberation because we were watching the Ohio State lose to Oregon, which is I'm a Buckeye fan for those. So I was. I was practicing my.
If you're from Pennsylvania.
Well, I was from Pittsburgh, and then I went to school in. Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, gotcha.
And so I kind of grew up as a young guy in Pittsburgh, and then a little bit older guy, young teen in Ohio. So I became a Steeler fan and a Buckeye fan, but unfortunately we lost. But anyway, I did.
You lost to US. No,
We
who'd
lost
you
to
lose
Oregon.
Yeah,
But
Oregon.
But
yeah.
the thing was that the most important thing to remember is I did my very best to keep my restraint, my composure, and my calm. In spite of it all, a few
Yeah.
little
Now,
slip ups here.
were
and
you
there.
driving?
No,
Somebody else was?
one of my. We're actually part of a group called SWAT, which is Sinners with a Testimony. We meet every single Wednesday from 6 to 8. We have a book. This book now is called Courage. We have another book out there that's called Maximize Manhood, and we read it and reestablish it, and we kind of go through it, and it really helps us stay focused and centered on the Lord. We all got trials and tribulations out there. Every single week I come up with at least 3 excuses why to not go. And then I'm so grateful every day, time that I do. And I leave there and I'm like, man, I know it. Because you can't call yourself a Christian and go to church on Sundays. It's like going to the gym one day a week.
Yeah.
I mean, only thing you're going to work out is your bill, right? You're not going to get bigger. You're not going to get stronger. You're not going to get
Healthier.
encouraged. You're healthier. You're not. So you
No.
got to go every day. And for a lot of non-Christians and for Christians alike, what does that mean? It starts with making your bed in the morning, but before you do that, being grateful for 5 things. Every morning I try to find 5 things, and it can be silly things like, man, I'm grateful for this comforter. I'm grateful that my dog didn't jump on me and wake me. I'm grateful for the whatever. But find those 5 things that you can be grateful for, because it's been proven that it's really hard for people to have gratefulness and anxiety. So if you were to really, when you start to feel an anxiety, you're hearing tons of that nowadays.
Yeah.
And I think that has to do with the foods. I think that a lot of that has to do with also the pressure that is placed on these young
Stress.
people is just such stress. And it's a matrix. We're all in this matrix, the treadmill that we're just perpetually on forever, and it's not working for us.
So since you, deal with kids as well, or young kids, have you seen the movie The Forge?
Actually, I had seen The Enemies Within the Church, which is another take kind of on that. And The Forge is kind of what our SWAT program is based off of.
Okay.
So our
really?
SWAT program is that. Matter of fact, my coach and mentor and Christian brother's name is Derek He runs Fit to Serve. And Fit to Serve is about being healthy for the Lord. It talks about mobility. It talks about worship. It talks about there's no mirrors in our gym. There's nobody selfieing in our gym. And if you are, you're kind of looked at as the oddball, because it's not about you. It's about being healthy for the Lord. It's about there to support the others who may not be in the same physical shape you're in and maybe needing help, but yet they're a little intimidated. They're being intimidated, or they're timid, and you want to be able to help that and help them. But unfortunately, we don't have enough people. We will encourage more people to come to the gym. And when you go there for the right reasons and everybody starts working out together, and you see various different levels of fitness and people working together, and we do something like Forged, similar to that on Saturdays as well. We do an event where every Saturday we get together and it's a family workout. We run, we do various different things, and it's fun. So
Because I love the Kendrick movies, and when that one just came out, I
great.
I took our men's group went. I've seen it a couple times. I'm probably you can buy it now on Amazon because it's gotten enough likes, or enough people have watched it that now Amazon you could like rent it or buy it. And I have all his movies, all the Kendrick brothers movies, like Facing the Giants and all that,
Yeah, great.
Courageous and
all of
Yeah.
it.
so yeah. When we saw The Forge, man, him and I were
Yeah.
balling. We were together
I love
watching
that
it.
movie.
But
I bawled like that in the movie too, and also the other movie I saw with Jim Caviezel was The Sound of Freedom.
Oh,
And I remember I actually
yeah.
saw with Jim. Jim came. He's a friend of the group we were at, and he was there, and they were handing out Kleenex, and I was kind of like, come on, am I going to get Kleenex in a movie? Am I going to something fall from the rafters? And what fell from the rafters was my heart.
yeah.
Seeing what those children go through, and people don't realize the actual pandemic that child sex trafficking really is, and there's more people in slavery today than there ever were in the history of our world. And and it doesn't seem to be, especially under this this current administration. I think they perpetuated it, made it much worse.
Yeah.
500, as I said, 500,000 children are missing, and they're missing into this sex trade. Don't cut. That's if we're going to be unscripted, let's do it and let's be real. That's what happened, and that's why they don't want anybody poking holes in their stories.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so we're right about the story time for the first episode.
Story time.
This will be a two-parter. We always try to do two with guests. So we always do this thing called story time.
Story time.
Where it's some sort of story that you come up with from whatever, when you were on a TV show or anything, or
Funny story or
just getting
I
baptized.
heard a funny story.
hero
recently.
story, anything.
I heard a funny story.
No, but it has to be you.
Yeah, it's actually kind of good. Let me about me.
Yeah,
okay,
it has to be about you.
I don't have too many funny stories. What I do have is a wonderful story about a police officer. I was coming back from downtown. This is about 2-3 years ago. And if you don't know, I'm huge into the Constitution. I actually found the Bible by taking over 400 hours of constitutional training, and 36% of our Constitution and documents come directly from the Bible. Right? So the only country that can say that is our Constitution comes from the King James Bible. But I was coming back from an event downtown at the courthouse.
UFC event?
No, it was an event on child trafficking.
Oh, okay.
And I'm coming, and I'm kind of geared up. And I'm traveling down 15. I'm about ready to get to Blue Diamond, and I realized that I was supposed to get off to go to Henderson, but now my mind's just going with what I just saw, and I'm so tragically affected by all these poor children, and I'm going pretty fast. And I realized, oh no, I need to get off of Blue Diamond. So I kind of cut off. There's not a lot of cars.
Yeah.
So I kind of do one of those things we're not supposed to do. I went from the left lane to the right lane.
4-lane change.
4-lane change. I had my turn signal on, but I did it abruptly. And a cop pulls me over.
Had
and,
to be an HP.
And it has to be an HP.
Yeah, he pulls me over, and he pulls up to me, and he comes to the passenger side of the car, and he has his flashlight, and it's a night, and he shines it on, and he goes, what are you doing? He said, I know you're kind of driving a little erratic. You went from the left lane to the right lane, and you were going a little fast. And I said, I know, I'm sorry. I said, I just came, told him where I was, and he looks down, and he sees, and I had a little Constitution book. And he saw that. And he said, is that yours? And I said, it is. And I said, and that's the thing that I feel that is one of the biggest challenges for police officers is that book.
Yeah.
And he said, what do you mean? And I said, you take an oath to uphold that Constitution, not the governor, not a president, nothing but that Constitution. And you're trained on case law, and very few police officers really know what they're taking that oath to. And I think that that's something that really puts you guys in compromising situation, because a lot of times your case law doesn't match Constitution.
Yeah.
And I said, and that puts you guys at odds with knowing what to do in certain situations. And I really wish they would switch that and really make every police officer learn the Constitution, because I think that not only would it kind of de-escalate some of the things you guys have to deal with, but I also think that it would be good for you guys to really know what you're upholding, and I think that would save you guys a lot of hassle. And he says, I couldn't agree with you more. He's like, you have a nice day. And he says, can I take this? And I said, absolutely. He said, thank you. And I said, you're welcome. His name is Spencer. I don't know his first name, but his Officer Spencer. I remember his name badge. And I looked at that, and I kind of waited there for a minute because that really just happened. And he let me go. And I thought, man, okay, that was a super cool cop. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I wasn't there to argue with him, and whatever crime or punishment that he was going to bestow on that ticket, I was going to accept. But it was nice that he let me off. I didn't have any cleavage, and I didn't start crying. I'm just kidding, you guys. But
No, it's happened. So.
But at that point, he let me off, and I thought, and that was right around that. And I didn't even have to say, hey, by the way, I got this event coming up here at the Thin Blue Line event. I didn't go there because I thought, then he's going to say, are you bribing me with a hot dog, maybe? But no, but anyhow, I don't know if that's necessary.
That's a great story.
Yeah, and no ticket.
Yeah,
That's all
no
nice.
ticket. That's it. No,
I'm waiting
no
for that
penalty.
person to come on. Oh, I hate cops because he gave me a ticket. So.
No, that's one of the things. You can't pass the buck, man. I mean, cops don't. I mean, I understand it, but the problem is that what people don't understand is they do something like that. They're speeding, and they're mad that the cop pulls them over. I had a cop one time when I was first got my license. A cop pulled me over and said, "Do you know how fast you're going?" I said, "Absolutely. The only thing I didn't know was you were sitting there." It's like, sorry, I'm on it. So that was it.
But this officer Spencer probably, when he first saw the Constitution book, probably thought you were a
lawyer.
sovereign. No, maybe a sovereign citizen.
Yeah, that's
'cause
true.
These sovereign.
Yeah, but they have
citizens,
a twisted view
They
of the
do,
Constitution. though.
but
the sovereign citizen.
Yeah, which is what that guy is. That apparently the guy that went to.
The one that from Las Vegas that
Yeah,
went
to
to go
kill Trump, but
assassinate Trump.
he did a video saying that
He's a Trump supporter.
wasn't.
Though.
Yeah, that he wasn't there to
So
kill him.
I happen to know Vem. His name was Vem Miller, and I met him. He ran for assembly too, so I met him on the campaign.
So you know
trail.
this guy that just
Yeah,
got
I do,
arrested.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
I think there's more to the story. I had people kind of coming at me. Oh, look at your friend. He said, "Well, first, I'm friendly. I think I could consider him not necessarily a friend, but an acquaintance. Yeah, and it didn't sound like that to me, to be honest with you. It really didn't sound like when I heard that. I'm like, this guy is like an avid Trump supporter. He's a good person, at least. And everybody is until they aren't, I guess. But it didn't sound. I bet there's more to the story.
Yeah,
than that.
he did like a 20-minute video. I saw like a few minutes of it. He's saying that the guns were just, he forgot they were in the car.
But he legally purchased them.
Yeah.
It's just-
illegally?
No, legally.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's just different
But
states have
when you
different
leave
rules.
California,
possession, yeah.
California, you can't
you
have
can't
none
have
of that
anything.
So
So
ignorance is not an excuse, or you don't get out of the law because you say I didn't know, or
Yeah.
I forgot. I mean, it just that's doesn't happen. But I know them. I don't believe that he was. I can't imagine him saying I'm here to kill the president. But you know what?
so he's probably not a sovereign citizen then.
no, I don't.
Sovereign citizens are the people that say I'm going to drive without it, even
Well,
though
they
his
only
car
believe-
wasn't
they
licensed.
believe
No laws.
No
Anarchist
laws, just the
almost, yeah.
Constitution.
I mean, they're saying
That's
that
it.
his car wasn't registered. And
He had a fake license plate.
Yeah,
Look,
who knows?
I'm not here to defend him.
No.
By any means. I mean, like I'm a huge Trump fan. That has cost me family members and friends, girlfriends, you name it. But I'm okay with that. I know in my heart where God wants me to be, and I believe that my choice in candidates is biblical. As far as Vem is concerned, we just have to bring that up. I find it sad. Personally, I find it sad. He either got caught up in something and got over his head, or someone misconstrued a statement. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I do not, I don't judge a book by its cover before it's opened, right? So let's just wait till this happens.
Exactly.
and see
But
what
let's just
happens.
put it out there too. There's an election coming. Of course, people are going to twist it. Oh, he was there to kill him. Gets more people to feel sorry, whatever, more votes. It's just, they didn't take it for what it is. Let the police investigate, and let's find out what the truth is.
Yeah.
Right away, they caught him, and I was like, oh, it's an assassination attempt. And I'm like, wait a minute. This guy's a Trump supporter. He has guns. They were legally purchased. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't get
Yeah,
where they're getting from.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean,
We don't know until
I don't know,
the report
and
comes
I'm
out.
sure it'll come out, and I'm sure it's unfortunate. It's probably embarrassing. It's tragic. I mean, it's going to cost him dearly, and for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
And so I hope that there's justice. And look, and if he did that and said that, then let justice prevail there as well.
Yeah.
I'm not here to defend anybody's behavior, especially when it comes to assassination attempts and things like that. But
Yeah.
I know we got to end this segment, so I just wanted to. Sorry, we went off on another tangent.
Oh, that's awesome. We love it. Unscripted.
Yeah.
There you go.
So we'll be back for part 2 with Dr. John, and have a great day, have a great week, and we'll see you on the next episode.
See you next week. Have a good one. Remember to subscribe, like, and share.
Yes.
Peace.